recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Ashley, can I have roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye, or here.
Jurdy,
Here.
Fisher, Briggs, Cavalier,
Here.
Kressel,
Here.
Klatt,
Here.
Menard.
Here.
Okay, this is time for the open forum. If anyone would like to address the council on any issue not already on tonight's agenda, may come to the podium, state your first and last name and address, please. Okay, hearing none from chambers. Anybody on the phone bridge, Chad?
No one this evening, Your Honor. I will go ahead and close the bridge.
Thank you.
Agent logged off.
Okay, no presentations. This brings us to the agenda. Does anyone wish to add anything to tonight's agenda? Do I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
I'll make that motion, Your Honor.
Got Delane and Clayton, thank you. Discussion? Hearing none, can I roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Kressel,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Klatt,
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. This brings us to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent agenda? Can I have a motion to approve tonight's consent
moved, Your
agenda?
Honor.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
Second, Your Honor.
Second by Don, thank you. Roll call, please.
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel,
Aye.
Klatt,
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. No public hearings, regular agenda. Ashley, please.
Yes, Your Honor. Item 8.01 is a resolution regarding the cash farm lease near the Crookston Municipal Airport with C&D Reitmeyer.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Joe. Is there a second?
Second.
Delane?
Yep.
Thank you. Discussion? Corky, please.
Yes, this is a lease that's been with C&D Reitmeyer for approximately 20 years. We did publish a request for bid proposals. We received one bid proposal from C&D Reitmeyer. We also brought this to the Planning Commission, and they reviewed it and said it does comply with our comprehensive plan. So the recommendation was that we approve it, and there was an increase of $10 per acre in his bid.
Thank you. Further discussion? Roll call, please.
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel,
Aye.
Klatt,
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.02 is a resolution regarding the authorization and confirming the sale of real property by the City of Crookston to the Midwest Minnesota Community Development Corporation, MMCDC, regarding parcel number 82.03936.00, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do I have a
I'll
motion
make
to
a
approve this
motion, Your Honor.
resolution? Got Don, second.
Oh,
Clayton?
yep.
Oh,
Did you was he second or was it first?
He made a
Don
motion when he was still
and
talking.
Clayton.
I'll second it.
All right, thank you. Discussion. Corky, please.
Yes, what this is, this property involves a proposed sale at this point in time. The attorney who examined the title made an objection to the title, saying that back in 2002, the City of Crookston conveyed this land to the MMCDC without a proper resolution from the City Council. So what this is validating and confirming that the sale from the city to the MMCDC is appropriate and ratified.
So is there going to be more of these? Because we didn't have just one of these, did we?
There is likely to be more, only because our experience has been that we have seen.
No, I mean just for like to the Midwest Minnesota.
There may be.
Yeah.
We just don't know about them till
Okay.
There's a transfer of title from, in this case, in 8.03, the owner We won't know about them until an attorney examines title and says, I'm objecting because there wasn't that proper
Okay.
resolution.
Just another one of those cleanups then.
Yes.
Gotcha, thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.03 is a resolution regarding the Crookston Single Family Housing Purchase Deferred Repayment Loan Lien on the property owned by Bradley H. Jenkins and Helen N. Jenkins, a married couple, regarding document number A000598987, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this
So
resolution?
moved, Your Honor.
Thank you, Tim. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Don. Thank you. Discussion?
Yes, this is the house that was ultimately built by the MMCDC, sold to the Jenkins. The Jenkins had a loan from the city of Crookston for this low-income housing. One of the criteria was that if they in fact lived in the home for greater than 10 years, did not transfer title in any way, the loan would be forgiven. The 10 years ended in 2012, and so this is a resolution to authorize satisfaction of that loan. They have fulfilled all of the criteria for forgiveness.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Item 8.04 is a resolution regarding a conditional use permit with respect to parcel number 82.00163.07, Your Honor.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Thank you, Clayton. Is there a second?
I'll second.
That's second by Christie. Discussion, Corky.
What this is a request for a conditional use permit on property in the city of Crookston on the southwest portion. What has happened is that there is a car crushing facility there. The state legislature in 2023 required each person who operated such a facility to show that the use of the property was proper under the city's ordinances. In this particular case, this is industrial. Conditional use permit is allowed under that. The owners of the property have come to the city, said we need a conditional use permit so that we can get our licensures from the state to show them that we're complying with our city's ordinances. It went before the Planning Commission. There was a full discussion. Planning Commission is saying, we recommend you allow that conditional use permit, and it does comply with our regulations.
Is there any, I read in the city planning, I guess the meeting notes that there was some talk in there about making like a fence on the front of the building. Is that something that was discussed or agreed upon at the
It was discussed, and they were talking about an 18-month time in which to work with our city building official and the owner of the property to get the appropriate fencing and height and type of material.
So that will be in place in 18 months?
Yes, that's the idea.
Well, is that part of the conditional use
It is,
permit?
it is not a specific condition of the use permit.
Do these permits have to be renewed on an annual basis, or?
No Greg?
Typically, conditional use permits go with the land that's being asked for that special condition. It may be change of occupancy or change of usage for it that may eliminate or void that conditional use, but for the most case, it goes with the land.
And generally, it stipulates certain things have to happen in order, certain conditions in order to be utilized for that permit, correct?
Typically, yes.
Yes.
I mean, you can stipulate certain conditions, but you cannot have sunset types, whereas at a certain point that it would be void, for example, if they meet all conditions, but you can stipulate certain conditions that they have to meet prior to that permit being allowed.
So this CPU then is being utilized without having to have that stipulation, is just a suggestion for the fencing?
I would, as of right now, I know we had the planning commission last Tuesday, and it was very difficult to put together the documentation for creating this document for the conditional use after the meeting. I will say this, if Mike Nelson, he's present in the crowd today,
Okay,
so
sure. Sure,
I did look that up, and that's only for residential use. That's industrial use, we can modify and create any height, basically.
I mean, it is along the Highway 75 corridor, correct? And it's coming
Correct.
into our town, and
It's in the Greenway Gateway corridor,
Yeah.
so they'd have to comply with that as well.
Right, but that's regarding buildings.
Yep.
It's pre-existing buildings. We cannot force somebody to tear down a pre-existing building. So it's, the fence is a compromise to try to minimize the impact of the beautification of that area,
sure,
so.
sure. Do you, I mean, is there not like a basic form for those conditional use permits?
We do have a basic form for it, but they have to state the conditions and attach
I mean, how
The
information
appropriate
alongside with it.
documentation?
Yes,
how hard would it be to add it, just add it in there,
to add what in.
the fence?
I would.
Well, it's a
defer to-
verbal agreement and based on what they've already agreed on. I don't know if that's something that you could,
I don't
maybe you have to
think
go
it's
back to the
gonna-
committee for that.
I think with, back when we had the Greenway beautification, any new business that comes in has to do the proper fencing or whatever to make it attractable. The existing businesses are grandfathered in. They don't have to.
All right.
But, and you're
We-
saying that
and-
this is based off of the, what do you call it? What do we have, that report, that documentation? Totally blanking on it.
The comprehensive?
Yeah, the comprehensive plan? Is that what you're basing it off of?
No, this is
Nope.
based on, that's an industrial zone. The conditional use permit is granted to allow this properly as a junkyard car crushing facility in that industrial zone. It's a proper conditional use. The owner has agreed that he will work with the city in an 18-month period to get the proper height fence to comply with.
But what
all-
is the proper height fence?
Well, that's gonna be determined by how high the debris is, the piles, that kind of thing.
And he's agreed to work, Mike has agreed to work with me on that. He will lower heights of debris piles if required, per our discussion previously. So it's gonna be a give and take. We have to talk between ourselves to make that determination.
I will just say, like, I sit on counties, planning and zoning, and like, the determinations are a lot of times very clearly stipulated as part of that conditional use, and I think that would be to the benefit of both the landowner and yourself, as well as based on the comprehensive plan. So that may be something to consider going forward.
I will do that, okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Hidma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
Item 8.05 is a resolution regarding the engagement of Advanced Engineering and Environmental Services LLC, or AE2S, to perform engineering services for the city of Crookston.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve this
I'll make that
resolution?
motion, Your Honor.
Thank you, Don. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tim. Discussion.
What this is we've been discussing a comprehensive evaluation of our streets, water, wastewater, and sewer. We had a call for proposals, and we received 6. Those were evaluated by Brandon, utility supervisor, Chuck, the public works director, and myself. And we scored them independently and then came together and did a compilation and an average. And this is the firm that was the successful presenter with respect to this. And we are asking that you pass this resolution so we can engage them for this project.
Further discussion? Hearing none, can I have roll call, please?
Hibma,
Aye.
Jurdy,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Cavalier,
Aye.
Kressel,
Aye.
Platt,
Aye.
Menard.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, reports. Corky, please.
Well, as always, a busy week. We had continuing budget discussions with our departments. We had a meeting with Ellers via team meetings, talking about our investments and our plans for the future. We also had a meeting with Ben Lean from Senator Klobuchar's office, talking about various ways the federal government might assist Crookston and Polk County. We met with the principal of Cathedral to talk about a number of issues that they had here with the city. Continuing campground discussion. We also reviewed those proposals. Had a meeting with the Secretary of State at drafts, talking about what the Secretary of State might do here for the city of Crookston. A number of meetings with Nick Nicholas, chairman of the Cheetah Board, over a number of issues. We also engaged with the person who is doing our comprehensive plan revision and proceeding forward, asking the city to provide data and what he might be doing in the near future. Number of discussions regarding the industrial park and what we might be looking forward to there. Planning Commission meeting, acting on the resolutions you've heard tonight, and then Park Board meeting, also answering a number of citizens' calls regarding the proposed property levy increase, and had good discussions with them, explaining it was a preliminary evaluation and what goes into it, and that the council and the city department heads and administration are working to reduce that. Had a number of those conversations.
Thank you, Corky. Jake, anything? I think he's in a Zoom.
No,
Pardon me?
no report tonight, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Greg, anything? No report today, Your Honor. Thank you. Chuck? Nothing major to report tonight. Thank you. Brandon? Chad, anything?
Just real briefly, big thank you to Mid-Continent Communications. They were very responsive today to help us fix a couple of issues that came up. We were lacking sound on our public access channel 3. They were able to identify an issue at their location, what they call their head end, and correct that today. And then also they assisted with repairing some phone lines that were down at the pool. So very, very responsive. That's all, Your Honor.
Thank you. Audrey, anything?
Just wanted to let you know that Clifton Larson Allen started on Monday. They were in house Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And this Thursday and Friday, they will be starting the finance department assessment process. That's all.
Is that for best practices then?
That's primarily going to be focusing on the finance department's internal controls, as well as looking at the positions, roles, and responsibilities.
Okay, and so this is implementing the suggestions that the auditor gave us, is that correct? Is that partly what they're doing?
To an extent, yes. Mm-hmm.
Can you
They are
elaborate?
looking at more of the internal controls that we are lacking right now, and also reviewing our staffing, whether or not the duties that are, I guess, required right now, if we have the adequate staff to do those. And then the other thing would also be re-evaluating the current processes that we have in place and looking at where we can be more efficient.
So when you say to a point that they're going to help you implement those?
They're not going to be looking at, it's going to be more focused on the internal controls aspect. I know you keep bringing up best practices. Some of those best practices are going to be incorporated with the internal controls, but it's not going to be totally focused on the best practices, if that helps you.
Yeah, I guess I just want to make sure that the suggestions that the auditors made are being implemented for next year. So is this part of that process?
It is, yes.
Okay. So the things that are being suggested by the auditor is part of what you guys are doing to implement those?
There are going to be some of those that the assessment will be addressing. This assessment isn't going to be a full comprehensive assessment to incorporate all of the findings that the auditor had, or the suggestions that the auditor had provided.
So is there a plan to be doing that, to make sure that we're addressing all of those?
Eventually, those will be addressed. However, this is going to be kind of like a phased out process. It's not going to be a one and done kind of a scenario. This is going to be able to help us get a clear vision as to where we are currently at so that we can then plan to move forward.
A question, after this process is done, do you foresee maybe some policies written or guides written, so, you know, heaven forbid you should go somewhere else a few years down the road, and our staff changes, we got something that they can look at to say, this is how we operate in Crookston?
Yes, those policies will be reviewed.
So you'll have the SOPs for that,
We will have SOPs.
the standard operating procedures?
Yes, we will have those more defined. Right now, some of those are lacking.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Audrey. Shane, anything?
Just a couple things tonight. One, Toys for Tots is getting ramped up, so appreciate all the help that city staff is doing. They're the ones taking the phone calls, collecting the donations, stuff like that. So if there's people that want to sign up for that program, they can call City Hall and they're taking names. I think everybody that's working there has a sheet, so if they answer the phone, they're the ones documenting it. So a lot of that work that's in the background is getting compiled and stuff right now, so thank you to staff for that. The good news is ladder 3 is back in the barn. It's passed all its tests. Everything's good to go. So hopefully for the foreseeable future, everything's good to go on that truck. The main reason I guess I came up tonight was I wanted to express my sympathy to the Rudnick family. Eric Rudnick passed away yesterday. He was a member of the fire department family. He was a firefighter for over 10 years. Had a battle with some health issues and stuff like that, and we just got the bad news last night. He's going to leave a hole in a lot of us. I mean, we grew up with him, and even when I first came on, he was one of those characters, one of those guys that was there that was always nice to have at the firehouse. So I just want to express our sympathies, and it's one of those, you know, we had Wayne pass away, and then Linda Cornea passed away. Her husband was a firefighter for over 30 years. Her son, Chris, is still on the fire department. So losing her, just another staple that we had as the auxiliary. And now to lose this personality, like I said, it's kind of detrimental. But we got to prepare for another funeral. But like I said, my sympathies, and you know, the fire department's feeling this one. So that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Darren, anything to report? No report tonight. Thank you. I'll start with Clayton, anything?
Oh, just, got several calls on the city levy, emails, and ones questions I couldn't answer, I suggested they call the city administrator, so some of those are probably calls. That's all I have. Yeah.
Thank you. Christie?
I think similar to everyone else. I think that we just need to continue to keep the public informed of where we are with our levies, and hopefully we'll have that clear idea in the next week or so. So other than that, I know that the CVB, or not, the chamber is doing a big event this Thursday, and so just really encouraging people to come out for the small businesses for that.
Thank you. Morgan?
Same as Christine Clayton, I've just been fielding phone calls and emails from
our residents with questions, and I thank them for reaching out. And then we had a couple meetings at the EDA last week, talking about the industrial parkway along with different grants that we are trying to bring in.
Thank you. Tim?
I guess we're all singing off the same song sheet tonight. Just a note of appreciation to the community members that have reached out to us for clarification on where we are with the levy process. It is a genuine sense of engagement that I feel, and hopefully over the next week or so, as my colleagues have mentioned, we'll be getting closer to the final number. That is not 72%.
Thank you. Delane?
Same thing, I've received a few calls. Just wondering, you know, I know a few times we've reached out to Mr. Melby at the county for clarification on things. Have we extended an invite to him for him to come to our truth and taxation?
We are actually going to be meeting with Sam Melby prior to that. To make sure that what we say is as accurate as it can be, consistent with the county. And we will ask him if he will be present for our December 11th Truth and Taxation hearing.
I know in the past he's
said
been able to dumb it down enough for me to understand, so I mean, if he could come, that would be great, but thanks.
We'll ask him.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Joe?
No report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Don?
Just a brief note, the Crookston Chamber is in the process of reorganizing. They have 6 people that have volunteered, downtown business people, to reorganize the chamber, and it looks like it might be a volunteer organization in the future and not have to pay a person a salary for that. But that's what they're working on. Thursday they're meeting, and we'll see what happens. I think they're on the right road right now to being reorganized. And if any of the businesses in town are interested to be on the board, they're looking for people for the new board. So that's all I have, Your Honor.
And you're meeting this Thursday?
Yes, the 29th, or 29th.
Where are you meeting at?
At the chamber office.
7 a.m.?
Yep, 7
Okay.
a.m.
Thank you. I also had the opportunity to attend when the Secretary of State was here. It was some good information. You heard a lot of our wish list and our concerns. And also received quite a few phone calls regarding where we're at with the levy, like everybody else. It's not an easy decision. Hopefully, we'll get it lower than what we're proposing, even now. So anyway, that's coming up on Ways and Means. We'll have a hearty discussion with the budget cycle. So just a reminder, there will be a Ways and Means tonight. Nothing else to come before council. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. let's call the Ways and Means Committee meeting to order for Monday, November 27th, 2023. We got two items tonight, grant discussion and then budget discussion. So we'll start out with the grant discussion.
If you recall, last meeting, there was a request from the Golden Link to provide additional information. I believe you did receive that. They brought it in. And as I understand it, there's been a consensus of all the other requests. So you have one item to discuss tonight, the grant for the Golden Link. Do you want to give them a grant? And if so, in what amount?
Opening it up to
They had requested $110,000. In the past, it's gone from 78 to 93 to 97,000, I believe. And they've increased that this particular year. They've supplied the data. Hopefully that's been helpful for you all to figure out what you want to do, if anything.
I mean, I'd like to look at the Humane Society one and then maybe possibly this one and possibly maybe cutting a little bit. You know, I'm just throwing out a proposal here of just maybe cutting this one down to, say, 100,000, and then maybe for the Humane Society, cutting that one in half down to 10.
100.
I was just gonna throw that out there to see what kind of traction I can get. I know it's I'm not anti-pet. I'm just trying to do what's best for the community and the levy, and every little bit we can do and cut, and then at some point in time within the next year, hopefully within the first quarter, I'd certainly like to discuss a cap on what we can do, and so everybody comes in and sends in their request, and we just decide that we have, and we can, maybe that cap changes every year, I don't know, but maybe we set it so the 2024, the number's gonna be X, and we just kind of go from there, and then maybe that year we discuss if we need to increase it for the next year. But I think we need to have some method to the madness, you know, so we don't get, all of a sudden we're.
And you can certainly do that, establish for the 2025 budget, this is our cap, this is the money that's available, and accept applications. You can certainly direct administration and finance to incorporate that.
And then maybe along with that, you know, some of the larger ones, you know, like, we know the, and please, somebody else jump in if they think I'm going down the wrong path here. Maybe we just set a cap for the Golden Link and say this is what the cap is, so you're gonna have to fit your budget underneath this cap, because it's going to, you can already know that beforehand, this is probably the most the city will give. So maybe they can spend that time within the next year saying, okay, we got, this is the amount that the city is going to request, or going to give. If we request more, they're probably not gonna give it, so they can adjust accordingly. I don't know if that makes sense to anybody or not.
I agree with you. I'd like to even see it lower than 100,000. I'm not against seniors or whatever that's needed, but when the times here, we need to look at
You know,
caps or what.
so what I look at, and I agree with you, Clayton, I mean, when I look at the impact of the city and stuff like that, my mind always goes, and it's sunk in with me a lot from what Wayne Melby said, is, you know, what do we do for our elderly in our community? And I just struggle with that, because I agree with him, what he said. I wholeheartedly agree with what he said there, so that's why, I mean, this is the largest grant that the city does. But I'm just wondering, you know, is there, does us just, I mean, on one hand, does us just giving whatever they request as a grant somewhat prevent them from maybe going harder after different avenues of revenue.
No, that's the thing that I was thinking, you know, if they can determine, say, Red Lake Falls, for example, or the surrounding area, how many people are actually coming there, you know, is there a possibility that these other cities can chip in?
Right, or when I asked if they ever went to Polk County, they never have. So it's like all their eggs are in one basket and it's us. So I mean, that's the other thing. So like I said, I could be swayed by somebody to go the full 110. I could get myself there, but I'm just trying to be
What was their last grant request that we?
79.
79.
That was a starting one, wasn't it?
That was a starting one.
Starting one, yeah.
I think last year it was 97.
97, yeah.
I think, for me personally, I mean, like, it's 1/3 of their operating budget right now is what we're seeing with that. And I think that, I wonder if this is like, and just reading through the budget stuff too, like, one of the expenses on here is like $40-something thousand for like a trip expenses. And I'm just wondering, like, is that, are those things that maybe we could have those who are interested in those trips paying a little bit more money and making those a little bit more affordable? I know that they haven't really looked internally about, you know, raising their prices. And I think, you know, that was mentioned, especially about like their meals. So like, if they're not covering costs or they're barely covering costs, then, you know, maybe that's somewhere that they need to either raise those prices or look for funding and grants that can help cut that down for costs for senior citizens. But it is a little concerning that like we are supporting them like 1/3 of their current operating budget. And I'm concerned that if they're so reliant on us, what happens if, you know, they're not getting that year over year? And that I think they need to be able to be a little bit more self-sustaining. I think there's definitely value in providing this to our senior citizens and providing that extra support. And again, the argument being made is, you know, what is it that we do for our senior citizens that we're like also doing for other populations as far as, you know, park and recs. But at the end of the day, you know, I do have some concern that the reliance on us to help support them so greatly is a little concerning.
I also don't feel like the members at the Golden Lake quite realize how much we are subsidizing them, because a lot of the calls that I have received over the last couple weeks have been, they've stated that they're members of the Golden Lake, and when I explain to them how much we support and what that affects the levy, they're not aware of that.
Yeah,
Many of them are not aware of that.
Yeah, I've had quite a few calls on this also, and I didn't know what to tell them for sure, because $110,000 is a lot of money. When you look at it in comparison to the other expenses that we have as a city. I'm not totally against giving them any money either. We do need to do something reasonable. So I don't know what reasonable is, because of the fact it's hard to. Budget is kind of ambiguous to me. So.
And I agree that we need to do something. I mean, obviously, we should support it in some way. It's just when we compare it to what we're doing through Parks and Rec for the younger groups, we have to remember that those people are paying fees that are then bringing money back to the city, where this is us giving a grant where we're not seen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I just wanted to let you know that in '23, they were awarded $91,980. And in '22 and '21, they were at $78,000.
And that, Audrey? Yes. In the past, so that came out of the Park and Rec budget, correct?
Yes, it is. That is where we budget the Golden Lake, is in Park and Rec.
At 78,000.
Correct.
And that was
Well, it's been always coming out of there, even the
That's years
90-some
ago.
thousand,
Yeah.
it came out of the Park and Rec.
Part of it came out of Park and Rec, and then there was a supplement to get them to 9198.
Oh,
Was that supplement, though, due to the trash and snow removal?
Yeah, there was a reason for that. It was the snow removal and the trash pickup that they then had to pay for.
Yeah.
There are some possibilities for the future with grants and so forth, with EDA, with the Economic Development Group are writing a lot of grants right now that might help the whole city, downtown area and so forth. So we have to consider that also, the possibilities there.
So they're asking for 110, correct?
Yes. Yes.
And it seems like it's out there going 100 grand.
Well, that's why I asked what they got the last time, you know.
91.
91.
Almost 92.
$92,000.
It's a lot of money.
Still a lot of money, but I think that instead of it going up and where we see ourselves with the budgets and everything, that I'd be more for along that lines instead of 100 grand, giving them the same as what they got last year, and they have to make their budgets work, you know, from there on, but.
Yeah, and I think we have to seriously consider capping any grant at a certain point. The maximum grant the city council will award will be X. And, you know, maybe this is the, you know, the preliminary step to getting us to that place. And I agree with my colleague Joe. I think, you know, it's about a 10% increase if we raise them to 100,000. So I'd be comfortable with that, setting it at that.
I would say that also, I would like to stipulate that I'd like to see them, if they come back next year requesting funding, where they have evaluated their current costs and where they've increased to try to offset some of that expense. Because it seems like there's a lot of opportunity there and it just hasn't been reviewed. And there's just been this expectation that the city provides that additional funding. And if we're providing 1/3 of their operating costs, I think that there needs to be some internal review of their own current expenses and where they can possibly help be a little bit more sustainable as an
I agree, and
organization.
then also maybe somewhat of a indication of, you know, like Tim said, what the cap is gonna be, so they can already start planning their budget early and say, okay, we're not gonna get this from the city, what we want, so we better start making some adjustments sooner than later, you know, instead of.
Well, it's almost 92,000.
Yes.
So we just go with 92,000, and, I mean, that's kind of what I was figuring. They've already had that into their budget, and that was already a huge portion. Give them that this time, gives us time to sit and figure out what the next cap would be, if there's gonna be one, and that, they've already dealt with that. So I know things have went up in expenses, but just like anywhere else, we're cutting wants and needs, and we're going through all this with the budget. They need to do the same. What's a want, what's a need, how do we cut that 10% up to that 100,000, you know, like they were saying, but I think what we gave them last time is more than fair. And I mean, I would love to give them more, but the place we're at right now, I don't believe we can. I just think we need to.
So what was your number? 92,
So,
92,000?
So we got a consensus at 100 grand?
No.
No?
I'd like to see 92, but I mean, I don't know what everybody else thinks, but that's, I think, more than fair. That was what they got last year. That was their operating budget for last year. I know, like I said, everything's went up, but at some point in time, they have to find a place to cut to, you know. and
Well,
make
just
it work.
even looking through that, I mean, I wonder if there's more grant applications they could probably apply for. You know, Northwest, Minnesota out of Warren, they're pretty good about.
Well, I just think about like their food program. There's got to be something that's like very specific to that, you know? Those are the types of things that I'm thinking about. And it would be also of interest to me, just like what what this is being utilized for. So far, the people that we've had have had very clear, like, tangible things that they want. And I think that makes more sense than us, like, just helping payroll people, right? And again, I feel like that's not sustaining or providing like a one-off thing that helps support them. It's more like we're helping just sustain them overall. And I do worry that if, you know, there is an off year or something where they're not getting that money, like the reliance there is the part that I'm most concerned about. And I wonder if there's, you know, some, you know, assistance through like the university or something in which they can really kind of help them seek out those grants and those type of fundings to help really make it more a sustainable venture.
How about going with between 93 and 100 to 97, the middle of the road there, so that would seem more,
We're gonna motivate them back to look at grants and doing things different like you said.
Yeah.
I think, Joe said, 92, I feel.
I think
Now,
also,
we can maybe work better next year, or if we put a cap on, and then
yeah,
we're done with it.
yeah.
I think to your point also on like the payroll is, and probably too late to do it now, but moving forward as these people are asking for grants, like it needs to be something specific and can't be used towards payroll.
Right.
Can't be used towards certain things in that nature.
And maybe we just need to take an overall look at our grant policy, I guess, of what we should do and.
And
Well-
maybe even consider, you know, designing an outcome-based evaluation so that we have some tangible evidence about how the monies that we're granting are having an impact in the community. So that would be something that we could design, wouldn't have to be too onerous, but, you know, let us know how the monies that we're granting are really impacting our constituents.
And I don't think that's that, I mean, that's not uncommon. I mean, both Tim and I both know that in applying for grants, that a lot of times the grantor will ask for some type of like, how has this effectively been used going
yeah, they
forward?
should do that.
So I also think just on, touching again on payroll is, again, reevaluating. If you're paying for cooks to make meals for individuals, is that a sustainable service, right? And if it's not, then you need to really reevaluate the cost per meals. I mean, I think also from my
Many Crookston residents are members and then, and divide that by the numbers, make it, make some sense to it, I guess. I'm not sure what, but then at least we could say, well, these are for the Crookston residents anyhow.
I think at the end of the day, whatever we decide, I think just giving them a heads up so they have a full year to really fully consider that. So it's not this like all of a sudden situation, I think is only fair.
So what's your number then that you're leaning towards on this year? Is it 92 like Joel, or is it 100?
I kind of feel I'm with Dawn on the 97, right in the middle. So.
I could land there.
Yeah, like I said, I'm open to discussion from everybody. I appreciate everybody's comments, and I could get to be honest with you, I can get myself where Joel's at, get myself where Christie's number is at, like Don, and I can get myself to 100, but give them notice that say next year it's not gonna, you know, they need to come up with something different. So I mean, for the sake of to move it along, I get my number to 97, I guess.
So consensus 97,
97 for me.
all the way around?
With the understanding that they, you know, if we decide on that cap, and we'll be deciding that sooner than later, then they'll know what they could possibly get up to, so then they can also plan for that going forward.
Okay, let's move.
Basically, no guarantees that they're gonna get 97 next year.
Right.
Right.
Especially if we put a cap for a lower amount.
I would actually have them prepare for less, to be honest with you, because if we set a cap, we got to get everybody that's applied under that cap, and, you know, just
Gotta have a
And
reason.
the cap also helps in our budgeting
Right.
process.
Yeah.
And talk instead of.
Well,
not
there was
knowing.
even talk about, organizations that are looking for grants here to get them in earlier.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that also would have been something that we need to do in the
So we'll have
future.
to-
The whole process probably just needs to be done a lot sooner than it was this year,
Yep.
Yeah.
which is kind of where we put us where we are now, so.
97.
What percentage would that make with 13,000 difference?
Well, each percentage is, let's just say 1% is 30,000, so it's
like
like
half.
0.33.
0.5% or something.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe 4/10%.
So, the next one I'd like to discuss is the Humane Society one. I'm throwing out a number of 10,000.
Corky, what was the requested amount?
20,000.
My question is, I know Polk County does not have a contract with them, and I'm just wondering, have they approached Polk
Yes.
County and they've just said no?
And we've had that conversation because there's multiple counties in multiple cities who utilize the Humane Society. And we've asked them to go out and reach out to them.
So what would I mean, what would happen if they just stopped accepting pets from Polk County and the other counties? Is that,
That's a revenue source at that point.
is it,
Tom,
is it,
not
what
They
is
are
that?
charged.
They are
I do wonder, though, do they get charged more than the city?
Yeah, well, they
You know?
should. They
Well,
should.
we have a contract.
Yeah,
with
we
them,
do.
And this is anecdotal only. My understanding is the county does not bring a lot of animals to the Humane Society. I don't know an exact.
What would the county do?
What do? You just let them run free. You don't attend to them.
Well, then that's the county's issue, then they gotta start figuring it out.
Just move them to the city.
Well, then maybe they'd start sticking in some revenue then if they say, well, we can't just let these animals run wild. The city of Crookston, or the Humane Society in Crookston's not gonna take them.
The hard part about it is their revenue stream isn't huge. And
Well, and they-
upkeep on the building, I think, is their main thing right now, from what, she talked about when she was here. That's the hard part, where, talking about Golden Lake and different ones, they have revenue sources, and they have, but the Golden Lake has went out and got grants for food and for different stuff. It's, you've seen that all over. I don't know, they're in a little different place now. I think they have a decent person running it. It was tough there for a while. I think she's just trying to get back on their feet. I don't know if I agree with cutting them at all at this point,
Yeah.
but that's my opinion.
I think from what I've seen, and I don't know if you guys have all been out there recently, but like, she's just trying to get up to the basic minimum industry standard to keep animals there and keep the people safe who are watching the animals as well as the animals themselves. And what I find most compelling about the request is that I see the effectiveness of what they've been doing and they continue to do. And
Yeah,
so,
I agree with you on that one.
I'm not comfortable walking this back
Nope.
to 10,000. We had consensus already, and I'd like to recommend that we stick to our guns.
I have a lot of good comments about the scruffy tails the past few weeks, and I really think they're doing a good job. I was out there and did a couple of tours and took some animals out there for them, and they have a plan to accept animals or reject them because they were full when I bought 3 animals out there, and we waited, and they called us the next couple of days. They said, we have openings now for those animals, and yeah.
So again, I'm not debating whether she's doing good out there or anything. I just can't get my mind there. So, I mean, just for the record, I know it probably won't change anything. I'm pulling my consensus from that 20,000, so, but it sounds like it's still gonna move forward anyhow.
I think we should go with 20,000,
Yeah, I
and
do
if we don't have
Yeah,
any other
I'm for
best
20.
deals.
Yeah.
I'll
well,
do
and I also think that this isn't like a sustaining thing. They're not utilizing this for like payroll or anything. This is like a one-time purchase to continue the work that they're doing
Yeah, but it
to
was 5
expand
last.
this facility.
It was, they asked for 10 last year, we gave 5, and now they're asking for 20. So I mean, if we're looking at the trend, next
Well, I wouldn't-
year's 30,
I wouldn't call that a trend.
okay?
I would call that a one-off purchase that they need. I would call a trend like the Golden Link, where it's
Well, yeah, that's
92
definitely
and
a-
then 90.
That's definitely a trend, I get
So
that.
I think this one-off purchases, isn't like they're relying on us to do this every year or that they need 20,000 in order for this to happen. This is a one-off purchase that they're trying to do to help expand and keep the animals and the staff safe.
I don't know, if I was hearing her right, I don't think they're gonna really come back to the table again regarding asking for a lot of money.
Right.
This is a one-time purchase to upgrade kennels and
And the building.
Infrastructure.
I think some of the concerns that they had was that they couldn't even have the vet come in and take care of some of the animals because the poor quality of.
Well, if this is a one-time purchase or a one-time thing and we won't see another
don't
grant
know
from
that.
them
We
again,
don't
then I'm
know
all
that,
for it,
though.
then I'm 20. But if
don't
we're not
know
gonna see them for a while, then
Well, we don't
Well, this
know
is
that,
why it
so-
went from 5 to 20 is because this is a
But you
one-time.
remember, they were asking for quite a bit more last year.
asking for 10,
No, they asked for more than that.
Yeah, they did.
They asked for quite a bit more than that. I think that it was 5 that we gave, and then I think like the Policemen's Association or something gave another 5, so they were able to
There
get
were
the
a
10.
number of people who contributed to raising
Yeah.
additional funds.
Yeah. So,
So 20
So
sons.
consensus,
yeah.
20?
Yeah,
Yep.
I would
Yep.
vote for that.
no, not me.
Okay. So the total then awarded is 148,000. And those are the consensus you had.
Because we decided 10,000 for the,
Can you just
South
repeat
Town.
all of them?
20,000 for Scruffy Tails, I'll get that out of the way.
Yep.
6,000 for Ox Cart, 15,000 for Tri-Valley, 10,000 for DCDP, and 97 for the Golden Link.
Do we ever hear back from the chamber?
I've not heard anything from the chamber.
Who's the chamber representative? Is that you, Don?
Don't,
No, yeah.
Well, he's
Have you
away.
guys heard anything? I thought that you guys had
They are
sent something
working
in
on
initially.
their budget right now, and apparently, they were supposed to have their membership is out this month, and so but they haven't sent anything out yet, so I think they're going to be in really deep doo-doo because of the fact that the shape they're in right now. They're trying to get all the bills figured out and paid because they weren't figured out very well before, and so they're struggling with that. And they're struggling to get a new board set up so they don't have to pay anyone, all volunteer board. They figured it out, they'll have $200 and some left over. And so basically, they asked me about the city, if the city would help them out and then become a partner with the city like other cities do. And they don't charge any money for a leader like they had the last 3 years. And the reason that the person that left wanted more money, she said she couldn't live on the money that she had, so she went to East Grand Forks. And so they are really serious about, there's 6 of them that really are downtown people and own businesses in town and really want to see the chamber go. And they just asked me about the city, and I said, I don't know. If you want to put in a request for some money, you certainly can do that and see what we do with it, so.
I
So
do
it's
wonder.
kind of up in the air, because this Thursday is going to make I think, they're going to make some big decisions here to what they're going to do, so.
I do wonder if the conversation needs to be revisited about the Visitors Bureau and the chamber.
Well, that's another down the road thing, because the chamber wants to continue. The people that are there, the young people, they're younger people, and they are really making a lot of sense that the chamber in other cities really is important to keep it going. And they thought maybe $10,000, would maybe ask for $10,000, but that's not
you know, been determined yet, if they want to do that or not, but.
I also wonder, Don, you know, with the Visitors Bureau having like $120,000 in the bank right now,
Yeah.
if there is even a conversation that could be had about how they can assist the chamber, because a lot of the things the Visitors Bureau does, they relied heavily on the chamber to get those things
So
done.
you sit on the Visitors Bureau,
I do.
right? How do you think that conversation is going to go?
You know, I don't know, to be honest. I think that they've been talking about revising their the
Bylaws.
process to give out money, and I think it might be a little stringent. I think it could be a lot more lenient. I think that that's a lot of money to keep in the bank, and even with the money that they allotted to give out for advertising and everything, I think they have like 1 or 2 applicants. So I think that there's definitely some room for maybe reimagining how that outreach could look going forward. So
I agree with you that those two, the chamber and that group should be getting together and, you know, working together. But I think that the idea that the other people have right now is, or the downtown people have right now, is that they see the city partnering with the city, and it's not going to cost the city a whole lot of money because they're going to charge a membership. Now, Warren has a group like that running the chamber. They all volunteer. They charge $20 for every business in town. And ours is kind of like, what size company do you have, and how many employees do you have? So that's a discussion that they're having right now. So
okay.
Is the city of Crookston a member of the chamber?
I don't think so.
I absolutely don't know.
I don't know why we
We
don't.
have contributed to certain initiatives that the chamber put on. And we had
Yeah.
employees go to their leadership seminars, and we paid for those.
Yeah.
But an actual membership, I don't know that.
I know this is kind of off topic, and so I know we want to get back onto that, but I would like to say complimentary that the chamber's outreach and social right now has been pretty impressive.
Yeah.
So they've been doing a great job in that regard.
Would they be better off having, back in the day, call it downtown or Merchants Association versus Chamber, or not? Or don't they get the benefits from?
Do they have members from outside of downtown? Because what you're making it sound like is it's just downtown right
No,
now.
they have members all
Okay.
over. The university had membership, big time.
Okay.
As part of the.
But, you know, it's kind of off topic too, but I know, just talking to the previous director of the chamber, is that they were taking a lot of phone calls regarding events or whatever from the CVB.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't think.
And ox cart days and.
Yeah.
And I don't
You
think
name
the CVB, who do you call if you're interested in putting on an event? Have no idea.
No idea, no.
Yeah.
That was another issue, so.
And I definitely can approach that subject. I do know, I believe Janelle had done like a documentation of how many phone calls they would get and like who they were to or for. So I think that could be some interesting data at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, but back to this.
So,
I'll bring you a report.
So the total consensus then is $148,000 of documented to whom it is, and we will act accordingly.
Okay.
So I guess,
So right now, though, I guess I'm getting a lot, I'm kind of on the fence about, the adjusted proposed levy percentage is 26%.
Almost 27.
Let's call it 27, and you'll be very accurate.
27%.
26.975. 27%. And you've got the sheet, you've gotten the information. What Audrey and I did was we sat down, added back in. We did add one more thing, the cost of the benefits for the position of marketing director. and you see it in front of you. That would raise the levy to 26.975, which correlates or translates into a property tax rate increase on homes of 8.021.
What is it currently?
Excuse me?
What is it currently on the prelim?
On the preliminary one? 30% plus.
Is what it's what it's showing.
Each one is a little bit different because of the value of the home.
Right.
But if you say it's 30% to 35%, it would be in that range.
Okay.
Also, didn't the state change the homestead?
Yes, but I can expound on that. If you look at your property tax statement, down in the lower right-hand corner is the percentage increase on your property. Up on the top right-hand corner, there is the value of your home. Most, if not all, people in the city of Crookston had an increase in the value of their home. Then there's a homestead credit, which was reduced or eliminated, or some people didn't have it at all anyway. So you have those three things: increased value, reduced homestead credit, preliminary levy by the city.
So this particular example, I'm looking at estimated market value 366, 2024 408. That's strictly from the state.
That's from the county assessor.
County assessor.
The city has nothing to do with its
that.
assessment at all. We take those figures from the county, and that our percentage is applied to that number. The homestead credit has been.
Is there a general is there a general number of how much that went up for the city? Or
I don't know, we'd have to ask the county.
it should be
assessor.
nice to know what the percentage that went up to the city, so we can say, listen, there's this percentage that's affecting your taxes that we had nothing to do with.
Well, and when Audrey and I meet with Sam Melby and his assistant, I believe his name's Andy, we're gonna work through that. We can ask that question for sure.
Please, yeah, I'd be interested to know that.
So it all came together for that 30%. And again, preliminarily, and probably one of the biggest questions I've got from the people or gotten is, why in the world did you set it at 65.07? And when I explain it to them, they seem to get that. Oh, I see. And so you're coming down.
Well, I had a conversation with a department head and just asked what they thought of our strategy and if it made any difference to them or not. And I think it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other. They had to get down to a number anyhow. So maybe in retrospect, it probably wasn't the best. But I still can't get my mind wrapped around as to why we just randomly and indiscriminately throw a number out. And so then maybe the question I could ask is would it be better in the beginning when they sent their proposal out, I mean, to set it at a rate where, I don't know, I'm just.
To your
Blaine?
point.
I would like to say that if we had our budgets done a lot earlier, we wouldn't have had to make the decisions that we had to make where we didn't really know what we had, the audit wasn't done. I think that this is a one-off year because the things were so delayed, and that if we're actually doing it on the time scale that we should be, that this isn't gonna be an issue
Then by the
going
time,
forward.
what you're saying then, and it makes sense to me now, that by the time we had to have our number in, we'd already been down.
We didn't have the time to be able to really dig into this like we should have been able
Yeah.
to.
So as someone that's new here, would we or should we, and next year, can we start this budgeting
Yes.
earlier?
Yes,
Yes.
and
Well,
should have,
We would have.
Okay.
We would have had we had our audit done.
yeah.
Okay.
But I do, the thing that I wanna throw out there is I really liked how we went through the cuts and discussed them as to why we were cutting them, and then have some conversations around them. I think that's a part of the process we've never done before.
And I've done it more than once.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And
to
done
your-
it more than once.
Reviewed it
Done
more than
several-
once.
Several
Yeah.
times, trying to.
Yeah.
To your point, optically, it was awful at 65.09.
Yep.
But from administration and department heads, it let those department heads go through everything as opposed to, here it is, it's 12%.
Right.
So,
Well, and I also think that unfortunately, in the past, the councils have been more worried about the percentage and not about what that, at the end of the day, entailed. And that's then when we had things falling off the side of, like the air alert system, right? For was it the water, what do you call him? What's his face? Brandon, where are you? Anyways, but this is, we lack the maintenance on the vehicles that we had to let them go longer, right? We didn't have a lot of the things that needed to because we were more worried about that percentage than actually making sure that we were providing the services and taking care of the equipment and things that we had. And I think that in the long run, a lot of those things would last us a longer time if we actually did that. And I think that this is what this council did, is we made more educated decisions and allowed the department heads to make more educated decisions about what was needed in order to make sure that we were doing what was right for the city and not just trying to fit into this number and then had things happen like that, you know. And I'm hoping that we're avoiding that going forward, as well as really providing and setting ourselves up to really push the city forward. And I would say that with the plans for the assessments of the sidewalks and the streets and our comprehensive plan and our business financial plan, that those things are going to help set us up along with the EDA to really grow the city, right?
Yep.
And those are all necessary growing pains that are going to have to happen, and it's not every year, but I definitely think that those are things to consider as well.
And on here with the marketing, what does everybody think about the marketing? You know, we're talking about cutting budgets, and you know, you're looking at let's say $153,000. Is that something that everybody thinks? I know that I've discussed it a little bit. Is that something we're jumping the gun with, you think?
I don't think we're jumping the gun. I think it's 10 years overdue. We all had a discussion last week, and I'm sorry that we beat up Jake probably like we did, but we're all talking about, well, you know, we're doing this pool, and you know, we're budgeting less to, but what? How come we're budgeting less? Well, we're not getting the word out and stuff. So my thing is I think the marketing person could actually help in respects to that and a lot other things. I mean, if we don't see after 1 or 2 years this marketing person paying for this budget and more, I think we're just kidding ourselves. I think we're saying, you know, if we get a marketing person in here, I think they're going to bring in more revenue. You know, my hope is, I don't know.
It's marketing and events, really, right?
Right.
That's the
So,
conversation we're
Here's the other
having.
deal, is why I was bringing it up, is because we keep talking about CVB and how much money they have in their fund. They do, their fund is spent, some of it, or should be a lot of it, spent on marketing to bring in the heads on beds and the people to town. That's kind of their realm of what they're supposed to be doing, and giving out grants to bring people to town or to cause heads on beds. Is that something
But
that
it's not
needs-
just heads and beds.
No, so I
No,
mean,
it's not just that, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is,
I
is
think-
bring in stuff into town. It's
Yeah.
marketing. It's supposed to be marketing is what they spend it on.
But the way that the CVB currently works right now is they're reliant on other people to just do the events, and then they give money to pay for the marketing that those people are doing. The idea behind this one, and I think you could probably share a little bit more on this, is the events and marketing.
yeah, so I mean, my thought from behind it is bringing in activities here to town that are not happening. So thinking of it as a communications, advertising, events coordinator. I did a lot of research on it. This is not an uncommon position throughout many cities. Obviously, if you look at bigger cities, they have like 5 people doing this. Cities our size do have 1 person. Cities are currently hiring for these positions right now, if you look on Indeed. The thought process is take the pool, for example. How we have somebody there running it, but yet membership is down and usage is down. The goal would be then, if we are going to be spending money on this pool, then how do we get people here in our community and outside of the community here and using those resources? Let's look at the ice arena and the sports arena. What can we be doing there outside of what we're currently doing to provide resources and different things to our community members and people outside of our community to bring them in? Let's think of Parks and Rec and what they're doing and how do we get that communication out there. It's something that we're currently lacking at no fault of anybody because it's not their specialty. And it's a very common thing and you can tell the difference. The goal, obviously, if this doesn't work, this person should be paying for themselves and also paying for many of the other activities happening. I don't think we just want to look at it as how do we bring people into our hotels and our restaurants, but how do we bring people in to shop here throughout the day? How do we get the word out? There's a town down in south of Moorhead that has done an amazing job they had a new little mini mall and they've done an amazing job of advertising that area and making it a day destination. I can't think of the town up north that has done a great job. Halleck has done an amazing job of advertising who they are. It started out as one brewery and an entire empty downtown, and now every single building in that downtown is full, and people drive from Grand Forks, from Fargo, from Crookston, from Canada to just go to Halleck for the day, to shop in the areas, to go to the brewery, to go to the distillery, right? It has now become a destination. And the goal is they can bring in revenue outside of our current taxpayers and just the property taxes. How do we bring revenue into the city and not just rely on property taxes?
And I don't think it's just marketing our facilities, it's marketing our town for people to want to stay here and to live here and to, raise a family here. I look at like the downtown, Grand Forks downtown. Like they've done an amazing job of not just doing their downtown, but also like that Grand Forks and downtown is a place you want to live in, is that you want to work in, you want to have your kids. It comes down to us like really providing who we are and what the opportunities are, right?
And why to move from, if you're looking to buy a house somewhere, right? Why do I live here versus East Grand, versus Fertile, versus Foston, right? Like, why do I choose here to live in Crookston and drive 45 minutes to work somewhere else, right?
So in that respect, I feel like we're in the same same situation like maybe Holly is in, and they're doing something down there because they're growing in Holly, and somebody's getting the word out down there to make it happen. And
And it's also like from the event space of working with Parks and Rec. Like even this weekend, I came up with 2 different ideas, and again, I don't have it fleshed out. I need like all of that, but it's just also like I live and breathe that world, and so it just naturally I was like I saw a need that I needed. Now, how could I make that into something that would bring a profit into the city?
so the thing I look at, I mean, how many of us have come across people, myself included, saying, there's nothing ever happening in Crookston. Crookston is just, it's dying. So what have we done on the council or the city to try to change that trend? And we haven't done anything.
I would say 95% of our community members probably don't know that we have volleyball teams and we have curling. Like people don't know that.
So this is the only thing that I think that we could at least try. Maybe we can look at it and if we do go forward with it, look at it in a few years and saying, is this really worth what we're doing? And I'm like,
I think if a guy would go with it, not in a few years, I think the first year, you got to see a drastic.
I would like to, I think we also need to remember this isn't just about bringing people here. It's about a recruiting tool for businesses to come here.
Absolutely.
A recruiting tool to bring
Grow to
families
downtown.
here. And those are the types of things that need to be highlighted with this marketing person outside of the event space. But I will say, I work in the event space. I have for a really long time. And like when I come into a city, I want to know like how many beds they have. I want to know what are the events that they have. What are the restaurants they have. I need to know all that information. Right. And I think that if you have somebody who could really market that and do like a 1-pager or like even send that out to people and say, hey, bring your event here. This is what we have to offer for you. Like those are the types of things. We are not actively recruiting outside of our city.
and I mean, no fault to the CVB, but like when you're advertising Crookston to Crookston, when you're advertising on CareWex, like I don't understand the point of that. We know who we are, right? I think we need to have somebody who can actually go outside of that space and really show people the charm of the city and town. So I just think that we need to have somebody that's dedicated to that. That can't be something that's volunteer and one-off. We need to have like a consistent message and branding across the board.
I mean,
No,
if you,
that's like industry too.
yes,
New Flyer, de-incorporated, Sunflower, whatever their name is now.
but
But that is part of the promotion too, because you get people that are looking for decent paying jobs, which I understand is pretty good with these businesses. So that should be a part of it too.
Well, yeah, I think you make a really good point, Clayton. I think there's something to be said about, our three big faces, right, is housing, childcare, and jobs, right? So I think this also brings that, if you're like really selling the city, you're gonna get people who wanna live here and wanna get jobs here, right? And I know that's one of the biggest issues they're having right now is trying to find good employees, right? So I think this is like a real full circle thing, that it's not just one area or avenue, it's an overall just needing to like improve the outreach of who we are as a city.
We got some good things happening right now. I think our Cheetah has really got some traction right now. I think we got some daycare with some possibilities of expanding
Yeah.
that area in daycare. So that's something that's, I think we're moving forward. So I think this is the piece of the puzzle that, like you said, full circle. It helps put it all together. And if a family can move to a community, I mean, how many communities are struggling with daycare?
Yeah.
If a family
Well,
can move.
look at our latest magazine. It's
Yeah.
one of the topics on here is childcare
So
shortage.
if we can get that part of the puzzle removed from a family that's coming here, I mean, I think that's a huge piece, so I mean.
to your point, Fisher just closed down their one
Childcare.
daycare.
Question. So, in looking at where we landed with the proposed levy so far, so there's a percentage for the levy, and then there's a percent number that is the actual tax impact for the home, the property owner.
Yes, that's correct.
And can you re-articulate that for me? Because I think that is when the public hears that the levy is at 27% and that number has this percent impact on the increase of their property tax, that's going to be, I
Yes.
think.
In this particular case, if you assume the levy is increased by 27%, that correlates to a property tax rate increase of 8.02. Anecdotally, there was an article recently in a number of publications and on the radio that indicated the average tax increase throughout the state of Minnesota is 8%. Crookston would be right there. Doesn't make it right or wrong.
No.
But that's
Just
where
like
it would
we're
be.
on par with what's happening out there in the world.
Yes. And the callers that I have had, that's exactly what I've done, just what I did with you all tonight. And they seem to say, of course, I don't want tax increases at all, but that seems more reasonable, and I understand you're coming down from the 65.09, and they may not agree, but they're accepting. And when I tell them that number of things that this would involve that we've let slide for years, they're more accepting of that. Again, they don't necessarily want it.
I mean,
but
who
they're
does?
at
I
least-
mean,
Let's be honest.
it's not like us on the council are immune to the increase.
Oh, it hits us
We're not
all.
like,
We're all affected.
we're not like, okay, council members are not getting any increase. We're all getting the increase. So it hurts me as much as it hurts anybody.
Well, and I would also, I do wonder, Corky, knowing that I'm assuming, we're not gonna have another meeting before the truth and taxation, that this is going to be it?
Well, okay, in a perfect world, I would hope tonight that you would say, this is it. This is what we're gonna do, but you always, after truth and taxation, can make adjustments.
Right.
Well, I just,
Because-
the reason I ask is I just wonder when we talk about also what we have in reserves, and I know that's a big conversation, is there, are we at a level that is appropriate, or is there opportunity for us to pull from that to lower this more?
So then, good point there, that maybe, you know, if the marketing budget is something at which that we can lower the budget, or the levy down, maybe we can just decide to take the marketing budget out of the reserve just this one time, and then that'll lower the levy to what it was before at a, was it,
Well, before it was 18,
yeah,
which would correlate to basically a 3.5, I think, kind of tax increase.
I mean,
And one thing you should consider, the marketing position which you're budgeting for isn't gonna start January 1.
right,
All right.
That's true.
It's
So
gonna be down the road, who knows when. Morgan and I are meeting to talk about that soon. And you don't really know what you're gonna need to expense or implement that position.
How far are we above as far as the main budget? As far as in reserves?
Oh, I don't
As
have
far
that
as what the
number.
audit said,
Oh,
as far as how we're set.
right now, I believe he said we were 5 to 8 months in reserve. Audrey, you can help if 5 to 8 months in reserve, but we do have some adjustments to make.
right.
So when we say that, like,
And then we
are those
also-
significant adjustments?
We also went backwards from last year.
Yes, we
Yeah.
did.
And
I
that's where
don't,
he,
I don't have my numbers with me.
Yeah,
I'm
understandable.
sorry. I do know that reserves are at 2.7 as of the end of '22. I believe the 5 to 8 was a different fund, Corky. It wasn't necessarily the general fund reserves. I think we are,
if I remember right, he said we were just about where we needed to be at this point in time, did he not?
Thought it was low.
right, let me just grab my
I feel like he said it depended on what we wanted to.
Right.
Exactly.
It could
We
be
do
anywhere
have-
here,
I'm
40 to
just saying, if we-
60%.
We do
take
have
some out.
projects coming up in
Yeah.
the future.
You know, 1
Right.
month out of it, or 2
Right.
months out of it, or whatever.
I mean, I guess I would feel better if we were able to pull that, the marketing budget out of reserves and then kept us at 18%.
Were we pulling money out of the reserves for the budget this year?
I'm sorry, Corky. I should never question you.
Yeah.
It is five and a half, roughly 5.5 months that we have in reserves, which equals roughly 491,000 a month. So,
That's what we spend.
right,
on
that's what we
average.
That's your
spend on
operating-
average.
Operating budget, okay.
Yep.
I feel like there was a few adjustments that were coming out of reserves, which got taken out of the budget,
But
if I remember correctly.
Yes, you're right, yeah.
Okay.
It's about roughly 184,000.
I was gonna say like 192
Was that-
or something.
There was a few different
Things that we
items.
said already we're gonna use reserves to pay for that.
Yeah.
So, again, and then maybe in the early 2024, we get it on the agenda and discuss where we want that number to be at. So then, when we start to discuss the budget, if we're trending, if our reserve number that we decide is X, whatever it is, let's just say the number's trending, then how do we get it back up to where our sweet spot number? Do we levy for it, or then if it's over, what should be a
You
good?
can't levy after you set the levy.
No,
in
no, no,
December.
no, next year. If
2025.
2025, I'm just saying, how do we maintain a number, what we set the number? Because I don't like the fact that instead of this year, we never really did know what our reserve number was. It's always been a number nobody really knew, after this year, I'd like to know, I mean, I like that we know what the number is, but then I'd like to discuss, what do we want that number to stay at?
Well, and there is, okay, it makes some sense financially if you have a marketing budget that you're levying and you just pick the number kind of out of the air. If you work with reserves as you go along to see what you need, as opposed, this would be antithetical to you. You wouldn't want us to levy 70,000 and just have it sit there.
Right.
Where
That's
you
right.
could with reserve, and we do have some flexibility in the reserves.
Right.
And
Well,
so,
I think the other piece, though, that we need to remember too is that we're in process of getting the business, the city business financial plan together, and that also is going to help us with best practices as to what to have in those
Yep.
reserves as
and
well.
we do have reserve policies in the city.
Yeah.
They're already established. They can be changed, obviously.
Well, and I think based on whatever we get out of the business plan is probably where we need to be.
All right.
But this 70,000, as just hypothetically, if you just took it away, you'd be 2.5% down from that 26. Doesn't get you to the 18 that you're talking about, but you'd be down.
Delaney, are you referring to the whole 170 that we were talking about on here?
The 150,
152.
Yeah, I think, isn't that what you were referring to?
yeah.
So not just the marketing, the whole amount that
The
we're
whole
referring
amount, I
to
mean,
right now, the
But like I
152.
said, my thought is right now, it's gotta be in there somewhere. We gotta start paying for it. And like I said, I think this is the only thing, I could be wrong, but this is one of the only things in our budget that's gonna, you actually got a return, we're gonna have a return on our investment. I mean,
I like
what can we say about that anywhere else in our budget that we're gonna get a return on our investment that we've done in the budget so far? I mean, so consider that if you're thinking that,
It's definitely, the idea is it is revenue generating.
yes.
But Corky, when you say 70, I mean, it says in the notes here that the total marketing budget would be 152.
Right,
So
I
that's
was
what
just
we're
referring to the budgeting expenses.
So we had broken it down by the
Salary,
benefits, and then the,
and the
Right,
operating
right.
budget.
So I think what Delaney and I were mentioning was 152 that we would try to take out of reserves,
Yeah.
not the 70.
I mean, if that's the consensus, then I am either way. It's either gotta be in the levy, or it's, and if that's too cringeful, then I am definitely my second option would be then out of the reserve.
I mean, I can go either way, but I do like the idea of at least the 70 coming out of reserve to the point of if we don't spend it or we don't get somebody until the middle of the spring and then there's certain months and we don't spend it, then we haven't had it in the levy and tax people
Yeah, that
for a
makes
budget
sense.
that we don't end
I'm
up
good with
using.
that.
And that's what I was saying, that kind of antithetical to what
Yes.
you
I'd be more up
don't
for that,
levy
too.
for stuff you don't use.
Right.
All right.
Just a question, are we also able to look at dollars that are committed and reassign the commitment?
Yeah, those are reserves that are,
Yeah,
by
we-
council action, you can remove that commitment if you desire, it, and you'll be informed, here's what it's committed to, then you have to make a choice.
Okay.
Are we gonna remove it? I use the example as the fire.
The
engine.
fire truck.
Right,
Well, we got restricted and unrestricted reserves.
well, that's the committed and
Yeah.
unrestricted.
It would be
was three
unrestricted,
different ones.
committed.
Yeah. Committed, assigned, and you can act on those to remove their assignment or commitment to move it somewhere else. That takes council action. The unreserved normally doesn't have to, but you can act on it. And then the reserved or designated reserve, that's pretty much locked in.
I have a question, and this just is me not knowing, right? So we based this levy based off of what the current property taxes estimate was, correct?
We based it on what it's going to be payable in 2024.
Okay, so, because I was just wondering if, like, it's been raised, everybody's property taxes has been raised, and then we have this levy, is it gonna bring in more money than we?
No, you're
expect?
saying that the value, is that what you're asking? The
Right.
value of the property has been increased?
Yes.
Yes.
And then the levy is going to be
Like, did we base that
based
on
off of what the property value is assessed at?
previous?
No, they're two separate things.
Yes.
Right, no, I'm saying that, so I'm just saying, when we looked at our budget and what we needed, and this is just me not knowing. So when we looked at our budget and saying we needed X amount, and this is what the levy we would need to pay for that, was that based off of 2023 property?
No, payable in 2024.
Okay,
24, yeah.
So it took into account the increased value.
okay.
Yeah, I would really strongly encourage us to have Sam add
Sam
the truth
needs to come.
in taxation.
So the consent, I mean, to get a number of the consensus is just removing the 70 from the marketing budget, and then if we need during the year, we can pull that out of reserve.
We'll have to find it in reserves.
Yep,
Yeah. sounds
And
good.
remember, you do have projects upcoming
yes,
that need to have reserves to pay for them.
right.
Would that lower it than the 8
If you take 70,000 out of there, each one is worth 30,000, so it's 2 1/3% off of the 26, so you'd be at 24.66.
What would it bring to the 8%? That'd be.
I don't have that right in my head. We'd have to figure that out. There's a
8.2?
formula that Audrey has, and we can work it through.
I would say we move the 70 to reserves, under the understanding, though, that that money is there and can be pulled from, because I don't
Yep.
want us to spend money on a marketing manager,
Right.
and then there's no money for them to use to market. Like, that would just be also then a waste.
And we can, Audrey and I can look
Still,
for
it could be in the
that.
budget, just where it's pulled from, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's consensus?
Yep.
Yep.
And we'll figure out that tax percentage, and we'll let you all know right away. And I do have Valley Talk on Thursday. Believe me, this will be helpful to say this is what we are anticipating will be the case. But we have the Truth in Taxation hearing on the 11th, and there may be citizens here. You're gonna listen to them and see what you want
And
to do.
it's at 6 PM.
But we don't have to set the final levy until the end of the
The
month.
last business day of the month, so between December 11th and December, I think it's 28th, you have a time to adjust that, if that's what you wish. Also, you may want to consider, and this is just me bringing it up for thought, our second meeting of December is the day after Christmas. Do you want to consider having a meeting in its stead, either before or after? Just for thought,
Maybe closer to the due date.
or maybe even before.
Well, right. I mean,
Like
just
the-
not the day after Christmas is what
Right,
I'm
the
saying.
19th or the 20th, or, it's
Sure.
up to you.
That's what I
Sure.
would say, yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
19th or 20th.
I would also, Corky, really like to encourage Sam to come. And I only say that because I know there were some questions last time too that were not necessarily city-based, that were kind of
You
county-based.
say them, who are them?
Sam,
Oh, yes, Sam, okay. Yeah,
Sam.
we're gonna be meeting with him.
I would just ask that he comes because I know that some of the questions were more focused on just their overall tax requests or overall tax
Right,
and not city. And it's very hard sometimes for them, for constituents
and
in
I
general
think he
to.
will come. He said he was gonna come last year and he didn't.
Yes.
But I think we can encourage him to
Yeah.
come.
I just think that it is to the county's benefit
Yes.
as well, because a lot of that is
I
things
took
that we
2
cannot
calls from
convey.
people in the county, went through my whole spiel, and they go, well, I don't even live in Crookston.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Yeah, well, and I will tell you, I do recall Gary Wilpite being here last year and him getting up and even saying how confusing the tax levy was. And so if the county commissioner is saying that as well, publicly, that's an issue,
I'll pick
right?
him up.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Our truth in taxation last year was not, no offense, Corky, but it was not well presented. And Corky knows my concerns.
Yep,
It's gonna be a better job this year.
for sure.
Yeah. Very good.
All right, so just, we gonna move the meeting then?
Well, you guys have to decide, and we can.
Can we
keep
do
it-
that right now?
Let's decide
Yeah,
now.
19th or 20th would be good.
I would prefer to do that right now.
Could we do it the 20th?
20th would be fine.
That works for me.
Yeah.
Wednesday, Thursdays just work better.
Is that what day of the week?
That's a Wednesday.
Elaine, 20th? okay?
Wednesday on the 20th then.
That works for me.
Hold on, hold on.
How about you?
I need to see. The 20th.
20th over here is all good?
Yep.
20th Clayton,
So move.
Checking my calendar.
20th Morgan?
Yes.
Yes, that
20th.
works.
Awesome, you're gonna make my grandchildren super happy.
Good.
All right.
I don't know why, but good.
Well, that's gonna be a
Five.
council meeting?
Yes,
Yeah.
20th,
5:30.
at
5:30.
5:30.
We should have plenty of time after the truth and taxation to gather your thoughts. That'll be 9 days. And then we'll have that whole time from the 20th through the end of the year.
And did you
And
want,
truth and taxation's-
on the 20th, did you want a Ways and Means just for, well, we can't, we gotta make a decision then.
Well, and don't we have to have at least 2 city council meetings according to the,
That would be our council meeting.
yeah,
Second one.
that's what I'm
The
saying.
11th and the 20th.
Yeah.
that'd be
That will be the time that you should set, and you have to
Set
set
the
in
levy.
stone
Yeah.
what your final levy will be.
Yep.
Yeah. Sorry, I thought you had said, should we just make that a Ways and Means?
No.
And
No,
that's
no,
why I
no,
was-
no.
That's why I was saying, I think we have to have 2.
I don't,
So I think we're good with just a meeting that time.
I think you'd better just have a meeting, because if you have a Ways and Means, then you gotta have another
Yeah.
council
Can't vote
meeting.
on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we are adjourned, thank